In 1555, Giorgio Vasari, the painter, architect and writer from Arezzo, was made responsible for the worksite of Palazzo Vecchio, which, on the orders of Cosimo I, was being transformed from the symbol of republican liberty into the new ducal palace. The artist's technical abilities allowed him to deal both with the structural architectural aspects and with the decorative aspects at the same time, and thus to impose unity on the whole work. His profound literary culture enabled him better to interpret the directions supplied by Don Vincenzo Borghini and the other humanists in the service of the Duke, and thus to create an entirely new artistic language with which to express the ideological and political values of the absolutist rule of Cosimo I de' Medici. From his first intervention on the apartment of the elements, where he rendered the rooms created by Battista del Tasso more spacious by painting the ceilings in perspective, Vasari displayed his great ability for devising ingenious technical solutions. A tireless worker, active not only in Palazzo Vecchio, but in all the principal Florentine work sites promoted by Cosimo I, Vasari was a great organizer, an impresario capable of directing and coordinating a huge team of assistants.
I have to attend to so many things that sometimes I know not where I am. With all this, I press ahead.
Vasari's incredible speed of work allowed him to satisfy the Duke's desire to see completed in a short time even the most ambitious projects, such as the making of the ceiling in the Salone dei Cinquecento and the decoration of the whole room. At the same time, his ability to choose as his assistants the very best artisans and artists of his time ensured the quality of the final results. Among his most trusted assistants, Vasari himself mentions Bernardo di Mona Matea,
a rare builder and in his art most intelligent.
Battista Botticelli, master woodworker who set up the forest of beams that forms the load-bearing structure of the roof and ceiling in the Salone dei Cinquecento, and Stefano Veltroni dal Monte San Savino,
who has supervised the gilding and the other decorations.
The team of painters who took part in the vast decorative scheme was a large one, but in order to maintain stylistic and compositional unity in the decoration, Vasari entrusted each artist with specialist tasks, making the most of his abilities. Thus, Marco da Faenza was allowed considerable autonomy in painting the decorative details and grotesques, but his interventions as a figure painter in the apartment of Leo X were strictly controlled by Vasari. Cristoforo Gerardi, known as Doceno, played an important part in the mural decoration of the Room of the Elements. Naldini was sent out to make drawings of the landscapes and Tuscan cities which appear in the decorative cycle, and collaborated actively in the painting of the great battle scenes frescoed on the walls of the Salone dei Cinquecento. Jacopo Zucchi, who was little more than 20 years old at the time of the work on the ceiling of the Salone, would be allowed greater autonomy in the decoration of the studiolo of Francesco I. The Flemish painter, known as Giovanni Stradano, who was already an established master when he began to work on the Palazzo Vecchio in 1557, was especially employed in the painting of landscapes, battles and scenes of city life. In addition, he was Vasari's principal assistant for the ceiling of the Salone, for which he also made preparatory studies. Giorgio Vasari reserved the most important tasks to himself: the overall planning of the decorative scheme and the designing of the compositions. Further, he intervened directly by painting figures in the foreground, portraits and the more important details, and he touched up the work of his assistants so as to ensure stylistic unity in the decoration.
And although some of my young men have assisted me, Sometimes they have helped, and sometimes not. So that sometimes, as they well know, I have had to remake the things with my own hand and go over the picture so that it is all in the same style.
Work on Palazzo Vecchio kept Vasari busy until his death, which took place in 1574, a few months after that of the Grand Duke Cosimo.